The first time I saw those houses from the top of my dam, I knew something was wrong. 35 brand new homes had appeared in a place that was never supposed to be developed. The strange part was that nobody seemed to realize they had been built on land that legally belonged to me. At first, I assumed there had been some kind of paperwork mistake. But after comparing the original surveys with the county records, the boundaries matched perfectly. The development wasn't close to my property line. It was sitting directly on it. The project had grown incredibly fast over just a few years. New roads appeared, foundations were poured, and families started moving in. By the time anyone questioned the land ownership, millions of dollars had already been invested. The original deed told a very different story than the developer's plans. According to the documents, the disputed area had always been part of my ranch. Somehow, that fact had been ignored during the entire construction process. The more evidence I gathered, the worse the situation looked. Several streets, utility lines, and home sites crossed directly onto my land. This wasn't a minor survey error. It was a major problem. Before taking any action, I hired independent surveyors to verify everything. Their job was simple: measure every boundary and compare it to the official records. The results confirmed exactly what I already suspected. Over the next 2 weeks, survey crews worked across the entire area. Every marker they placed supported the same conclusion. The neighborhood had expanded into land that wasn't included in the development plans. Then we discovered something even more concerning. The disputed land wasn't just private property. It was also part of an old flood control system. That meant the issue involved much more than ownership. When concerns reached the HOA board, Karen Mitchell immediately dismissed them. She insisted everything had been approved and accused critics of creating unnecessary panic. Most residents believed her. A few days later, Karen confronted me in person. She demanded that I stop, question the development, and claimed I was hurting property values. I simply told her the documents would speak for themselves. After Karen left, I met with a county engineer to review the original flood control plans. What we found was alarming because the neighborhood had expanded directly into an area designed to manage storm runoff. If a major storm arrived, those homes could face serious flooding issues. The engineer explained that the basin wasn't optional infrastructure. It had been designed decades earlier to safely redirect excess water during heavy storms. Building inside that zone created risks that should never have been ignored. As summer progressed, weather forecasts began predicting an unusually active storm season. The retention lake started collecting more runoff than normal, and water levels slowly increased. For the first time, I became genuinely concerned about what might happen next. Before taking any legal action, I sent formal notices to the developer and HOA. The documents explained the ownership dispute and the flood control concerns in detail. Instead of addressing the issue, they chose to ignore the warnings. Karen assured residents there was nothing to worry about. She claimed the development had been fully approved and dismissed every concern as misinformation. Most homeowners trusted her and moved on with their lives. The neighborhood looked completely normal on the surface. Families were settling into their new homes and enjoying the community amenities. Few people realized there was a growing dispute surrounding the land beneath them. Meanwhile, my legal team continued gathering evidence. Every survey, deed, and engineering report pointed toward the same conclusion. The developer's paperwork simply didn't match the actual property boundaries. The developer finally began paying attention when attorneys became involved. Executives reviewed the records and quickly realized the situation was more serious than expected. Suddenly, confidence turned into concern. An emergency review was ordered to verify the boundaries. Engineers rechecked surveys, while attorneys examined permits and approvals. The deeper they looked, the more questions they found. Then a major storm system appeared on the forecast. Heavy rainfall was expected across the entire region over several days. The timing couldn't have been worse for everyone involved. I spent the next few days monitoring conditions around the dam. Everything was operating exactly as it had been designed to operate. The problem wasn't the system itself. It was what had been built downstream. As the first rain bands moved into the area, residents started asking questions. For the first time, Karen didn't seem to have immediate answers, and the approaching storm was about to test every decision that had been made. The rain didn't stop after a few hours. It continued for days. Water levels across the entire watershed began rising exactly as the engineering models predicted. For the first time, county officials started paying very close attention to the situation. As conditions worsened, county engineers arrived to inspect the flood control system. They compared current water levels against the original design documents. What they found immediately raised serious concerns. The original plans clearly showed that part of the subdivision sat inside a protected flood management area. Those zones existed for a reason. Ignoring them created risks that could not simply be wished away. Residents began demanding answers from the HOA board. Questions that had been ignored for months suddenly became impossible to avoid. Even Karen appeared far less confident than before. Behind the scenes, the developer was scrambling for solutions. Attorneys, engineers, and executives spent hours reviewing records. The deeper they investigated, the worse the situation appeared. Meanwhile, I focused on monitoring the system. The dam had been operating safely for decades, and every procedure was being followed exactly as designed. The challenge wasn't the infrastructure. It was everything built around it. As rainfall continued, low-lying sections of the neighborhood began collecting runoff. County crews inspected drainage routes and reviewed emergency plans. Nobody wanted to take unnecessary risks. A public meeting was held to explain the findings. Officials confirmed that portions of the development overlapped areas identified in older flood control documents. The room became noticeably quieter after that announcement.